Hello, this is Manju, and I'm one of the mentors for Anamika, and this is final demo on Infrastructure Android by Anamika Tripathi. She's GSoC 2018 student.
Thank you, Manshu, for the introduction. So I will start with the demo. The first is let's talk about myself. So I'm a final year BTech student. Have been an Android developer since last 2 years. Uh, I've been a president of one of my college society that is Android Techies. Um, I've been experienced in open source around last 1 year. I've been a Google coding mentors and I've been a project maintainer for around last uh, not last 2 or 3 months. So yeah, um, about the team that we work on during the GSoC period, Manju was my primary mentor, and Nikita was my mentor throughout the GSoC period, and Manisha was there only for the GSoC first phase. Uh, Madeline was my admin for the GSoC uh, period. So the first one need is why did we know infrastructure Android and what it is, why do we need it, and why I applied for it. The purpose of the Android infrastructure is, even though a lot of them, we have focused on few of the main key concepts. One of these maintaining consistency, and by consistency I mean uh, following the standard guidelines of the Android throughout all the projects, because currently for the sisters Android projects we have approximately I think 5 projects, and earlier we were following different standards and a different way of infrastructure inside the application. But during the GSoC period, uh, three of the applications actually followed MVP, and now we have a similar consistency and the project structure throughout all of the applications. So that maintains the consistency. Another is we are following repository pattern from the database, and we are using Room library for the database access. In, Apart from that, I have worked on the user experience of the Malaria-Android application. So, question is, why did I propose with only this project? Because we had another Android project also. So, I wanted to learn a lot of the best Android practices, and this was a really nice opportunity for me to get out of my comfort zone and create the apps that somewhere end users will use. Um, I've learned many best practices. I've used Room and MVP in two of the sisters projects. So that is a really used thing for me. So this was the reason I applied for only for the infrastructure project. Now, coming to the main question, why only MVP, why not MVC or MVVM, and how it actually works. So first we'll focus on how it works, and then we'll go discuss about the why MVP. So if we can see, here we have a similar architecture of diagram displaying how MVP is actually handling stuff. If you can see, there's a presenter in the middle way where we have a MVP presenter, which is an interface. So every with dotted lines are actual interfaces. So my MVP presenter, that is an interface, is being implemented by my presenter, and same inside the view, I have my MVP view, which is being implemented by my views. So here my views can be my fragments, my dialogues, or even my activities. If you can see, in comparison with the MVC, or without having any architecture pattern, we are not actually directly accessing model anywhere. So to access database, either it is a preference or it's a network or it's a DB, we will always access it with the help of presenter. So what we are doing is improving the coupling, and we are making it less coupled with the help of presenters. In the model part, if types of models, one is preferences, where I will list all down all my functions inside the preference helper, and my app preference helper will implement it. Same goes for DB helpers, where will I will have my SQLite database, and it will be implemented by AppDB helper, and API helper and app API helper will be used for the network parts. There is no necessity to keep all of three of them. It's something like if we have network access, we'll be following something similar architecture. And for a power up and drive, we don't have any network users. So what we are having is preference helpers and the app DB helper, and we both are being handled by my data manager. So even the presenter is not directly accessing either preferences or of the DB helpers. With the help of App Data Manager, I am accessing my models, and my view is actually accessing models with the help of presenters. So the question is why, how it's actually helping us, why this architecture is better than the older pattern, and why do we need it? So it's actually really helpful when I'm trying to write the unit test, because if my views will not contain any business logic and everything will be inside the presenters, and my view will be as dumb as possible, it's really very easy to write the unit test, because unit test is about checking whether my business logic is expect working as expected. Same, there are many other benefits which we will discuss in the upcoming slides. So, as we also mentioned, I have used a Room library. So, let's discuss about the Room library first a little bit. Here, there is simple architecture of how Room database works. So, if you can see the entities, they are responsible for creating my tables. So they will uh, keep all the column names and how my column names will be constant, like whether if I have a primary key or if we have certain more like unique constraints. So all of them will be inside my entities. Database objects. The room database objects are responsible for creating the functions which will access my database. So we have my entities which will create the tables. Database access objects will create the functions which will access my database, and the room database, that is here. If you can see, I have app database file. So the app database is actually responsible for database objects and my entities. So and it also initializes whether I'm actually migrating from older version to newer version. Now the question is why and how Room is better than the older basic SQLite users. First reason is in the basic architect SQLite implementation, I have um, no compile time verification of the database. So let's suppose I'm writing any query for the SQLite, and it might be wrong. And when I have installed the application, and when someone in any activity or any fragment or inside any presenter I'm trying to access it, the app will crash. Instead, when I'm using the room database, the inside the Android Studio itself, it will check whether all the SQLite queries are valid. I will have compile type verification, and if there's some error, I will get it inside the Android Studio itself. That's one of the many benefits that we have. Apart from that, it actually reduces boilerplate code a lot. Let's, for example, if we will take by the basic older version of the Zoom, so sorry, SQLite. So where there we have to create many of the code, Java code, where we are actually using cursors to take the data from the database and then use it inside the Java. But inside the Room, we are using Java annotations to directly access the code. So when I'm actually using any of the functions from the database objects, I will get back either list of any of the my tables or the strings. So it's really helpful to create. The next benefit of using the Room is I it's a constraint that you cannot use Room database on the main thread. If you will force it to do so, yes, you can using allow main thread queries, but by default you cannot use Room database on the main thread. So it actually helps in removing the difficult works from the main thread to the worker threads, and you will get the data, or you will use the data as expected, and it's very easy for your Android applications to manage. So the first phase one, as we have discussed about the MVP and the room, let's talk for the phase one. Now my accomplishment for the phase one were like for the power of Android, I shifted the database from the SQLite to Room, and I also drafted an Android standard guidelines using many of the references provided online, also with the help of developer documentation for the Java, and I researched for the XML resource guidelines from many of the blog spots to create an Android standard guidelines so that throughout the community we can follow one standard guidelines. I've implemented the Room for the SQLite database. As we discussed in the MVP structure, that was a repository pattern for database access. So I implemented that also inside the PowerUp. And when I was actually after changing the shifting to the Room library, I had to remove all the code from the SQLite that we had inside the application and use Room query instead. Then at that point of time, I felt the need to redo the boilerplate code for the application because I was working on the worker threads. So I changed many of the activities to follow something similar to MVP pattern where I have my presenters views that my activities and and my models were my Zoom database. So here is something my structure for the old and the new. If you can see here, I have my activity that are my views and all my models of the database, and database handler is the model that I have. So my view is actually accessing model directly. So that is really not expected from any Android projects. Instead, I should have a loose coupling. So in the new way, what we have in using the MVP, I have my views that are my activities or my fragments, and any of my view is not having direct access to any of my models. So my view asks my presenter to give some data by accessing it from the model. So my presenter will ask the model to give some data. If I'm using any get query, it will return using the callback methods. I will get the data in the presenters, and then after getting the data, my presenter will give it back to the views. So I have another level inside the model and view. So it's really less coupling. So power up demo that I have created just for the demo purpose. I would only be giving demo for the power ups some screens. So here my basic the main screen. When I will click on the new game, it will ask me whether are you sure whether you want to create any new game. So I will say yes, create a new avatar instead. Here I can, if you can see, all the UI is same as earlier. Only difference is I'm using the room database and I've changed some activities, how the MVP activities are have changed infrastructure. So I can change my hair, eyes for the avatar and also the skin color. If I click on continue, let's suppose I'm not happy with this avatar configuration. So I can go back, change something about and continue finally. When I will click on the continue, I will this work with one of my fellow GSoC students. Only work that I have done here is I have merged the code that she done inside the MVP so that there is a consistency. So if I will click on the required, it's an initial. So I can select any of the other mother or parent. So let's say I'm selecting a female and I will click on the continue. This is my map screen. I have 4 scenarios here. I will start with the main scenario because rest of the scenarios are logged till then. So I am getting my questions here in the home scenario, and then I have to select between different apps. answer. So let's say I will say let's make it example. Um, you expected this, and his handwriting to this. As you can see there, I had to click it twice because this was one of the bug introduced during implementation. It has been removed now. So as I receive some points, I can choose some thing to chase and purchase. Now click on OK. So this was my power up demo because as we can see, this is working as expected for the database changes and the MVP. This was what actually expected. Rest of the scenarios will work as expected till the work that I've submitted. Coming to the phase 2 and the phase 3, because I worked only on the one of the application, that is Malaria-Android. What are the features and the project about the Malaria-Android? So Malaria-Android was created for provide this protective practices against the malaria for the Peace Corps volunteers, and the features are I can get regular medicine reminders. Either it can be weekly or daily on the basis of the medicine I'm selecting. There are three options currently inside the application. Um, Also, it helps me create a necessary list for the packing trip. That is actually allows me to, if if the volunteer is going on a trip, I can create a trip, the departure date and the arrival date, and I can get notification of the selected packing list. Same goes for the medicine consumption. If I'm adding for the any other number of the medicine inside the medicine store, I can get reminders whether if I'm running out of the medicines. It can help me. I can also order the medicines from inside the application. Allow users to play some interactive game. This was a extra add-on feature that was created. So for the accomplishment, I created the same thing for the Malaria Android also. Shifted the database to the repository pattern. The SQLite database was using Room library, and I implemented model view presenter for a few of the activities inside the application. Coming to the phase 3, I completed all of the rest of the work that was left here in the phase 2 in the MVP. Um, Next one, I improved the user interface by using constant layout in many of the screens that were around 5 or 6. It actually helped me to reduce layout nesting. In many of the dialogues, I have used reduced nesting and improved the performance. Otherwise, I have removed the link errors inside the application in maximum screens. Um, During the user interface implementation, I've used material design guidelines to make sure that user experience is as expected for. And in the last week, I've measured the performance using Android Profiler. I've used leak canary to detect whether I'm having any memory leaks, and I've checked the overdraw for before and after the application. So let's see about the how what is the project structure of the malaria, because whole of the application is shifted to the MVP and the room. If you can see in the middle, I have my data, notifications, UI and details, and everything is displayed by the arrows going by. If I'm taking example of data, I have my DB, network and preferences. The app data manager is the main class which will be used throughout all the view presenters to get the access to the module, and I won't have to access any of the three repositories directly instead. So this is the repository pattern that I was referring to. If you can see the reference, I have my preference helper and the app preferences helper. Same goes for my database room implementation that we already discussed. In the notifications, I have my receivers, services, and the util class, which contains some extra functions for the notification. In the base, that is the main MVP feature that everyone uses. I have my base activity, my base fragments, base presenters. So all of the my fragments will implement my base fragment. All of my activities will implement base activity. So sorry, these are the class, and I will have to extend them instead of implementing. So uh, And my app actually contains something that is like I have shifted all the code Android applications font to follow only one font throughout the typeface instead of creating the typeface variables inside any every fragment and the activity I have created it with the help of my application. So yeah, the util contains some extra util functions like date picker fragment or the injection utils. Injection utils helping me to create an instance of the app database manager very easily. Now coming to the Malaria demo, if you can see, I can see red and the green buttons both are active. This is the reason because I haven't taken my medicine for today. Even though I already got my notifications for today, I rejected it. So I still have these both of the buttons activated. So let's start with the profile first. In the early of the code, I didn't had any bottom navigation. What I was actually using is five buttons in every activity. So I instead of using that view, I used a material design bottom navigation here. In the profile, in the profile, I have three options. That is my edit user profile. This is the medicine store and the reset. So the medicine store and the reset is actually available inside all of the screens, but edit profile is only available for the profile option. So let's start with the edit profile. The user can enter their name, email address, age, and the medicines. So I will keep at the my name, email. Let's say 19. I'm keeping as is. I will save it. Once I will save it, I will get a push notification saying that the values are saved. So if I go back to the screen, here I'm getting all the values filled up with the help of database. And I can go back to the screen. If this is something we changed for this GSoC period, that we are having first and second that we still can improve here is these are the two analysis screen of users data. So here I'm getting medicine last taken. This is the date that I last took my medicine. This is because I have an analysis freshly installed application. This is a dummy data here now. Dosage in a row is also dummy data. And adherence to a medicine is something if calculated with the help of old data by taking, like for example, if I have been using this application for 4 days and but I've only taken my medicine only for the 2 days, so it will be 0.5%. This is my adherence medicine. This is the UI, new UI that we created. Instead of using progress bar for all the last 4 months that we have, I have used timeliner view. So it actually provides me May, June, July, August because I haven't used this application in the last 3 months. I'm getting an NA here and the 6.67 is the last three is the adherence of the August's data. In the badge screen, I have to whether I've taken my medicine, whether I know the answers correctly, and whether I have planned my trip already or not. Since I haven't planned any trip now, I will not get anything here. If I will click on the whether I've taken my medicines, I'm getting a repeat taking your first medicine because I've only taken medicines once. If I will, there is a backward calculation in the background going on to some comparisons. These badges keep changing, so this can be changed to silver also or something more also. Mr. Know It All is something that is being scored with the help of games that I play. So I haven't scored any game, so I'm only getting a simple badge, and it will be improved with the game score that I will be saved during the playing games many times. Coming to the game screen, I have two games. One is rapid fire and the myth versus fact. Rapid fire, I can click see a target viewer here. So if I'm getting a data, whether read the questions very carefully, you will get three options for every option question. For every correct option, I will get a point. I will get my scores here, and they're only 5 seconds. And this is the exit button. There can still be improvement inside the tab target viewer. So I didn't get answered here, and the question changed, and the timer is still going on. So let's say malaria is caused by virus. If I'm giving a wrong answer, I will get a red. It is taken daily, so I will get a green. Let's say I will give the right answer again. I will get a green. I can exit it in between by clicking OK or cancel. Let's say cancel, and I want to play the game whole. So it should be taken daily. I'm getting a game over option. I can click OK and will go back. Same goes for the myth versus fact also. I'm getting all the so this target viewer I will get only for the first time when I'm playing a game, and it won't be shown again. Here I have to drag and drop. If I'm getting a right answer, I will get a wrong. Sorry, correct. And if I'm giving a wrong answer, it will be wrong. So to the next question. Malaria is a life-threatening disease. This is a correct answer. So I will get a correct +1. You don't have to worry about the malaria in the dry season. So this is a false statement. So I'll get a correct. I can exit from here by using the exit button. So these are the two games. In the earlier screen, I had 4 buttons here, but we have removed the medicine store to this screen and the badge screen to the profile. You- The info hub actually displays all the data that I'm getting from the data back of the database. Uh, Due to the some reasons, we haven't implemented up ahead of this screen. So these 4 buttons get the only data. We take the data from the back of the database, and I'm not getting any data from the backend. So I won't get anything from here and from the screens. In the trip screen, I can plan my trip. So let's say I will click here. I have no history available, so I will get a snack bar here saying no history available. I can enter the location by myself. So let's say I will say Delhi. Clicking on the departure date, I can select it from the that is 13th of August, my arrival date. Let's say I will click cancel and I will not select it. So if I click on select items, it will ask me to select the departure date and the arrival dates first. So I will select my arrival date first. It's 12th September instead. Then I will click on the select items. I will get a full screen dialog displaying save button here, and the select pill will provide me options to select pills. Either it can be Maderon or Mefloquine or doxycycline. So I will let's say Mefloquine instead. So I can select by clicking on the right click. What I mean to say is I have packed this item already and I haven't packed it. This data will be saved inside the application. I will if I'm trying to delete it, I will get a notification that pills are compulsory selection, so you cannot delete it. Let's say I will add another item that is clothes and click on add. As here I have clothes added already, so I will select it and save it instead. So this 5 was actually um, calculated on the basis of my departure date and arrival date. Since this is a weekly medicines and I have approximately 1 month gap, so I should take 5 medicines instead. If I will change it to Malaron, I should get some another day, that is 31, because I'm going to the trip for 31 days. I should, and this is a daily medicine, so I should say pack 31 medicines instead. I will delete my clothes option here and I will save it back. If I will restart it, the clothes is not available. So this is implemented in the new feature. I can save it or the cancel it. The minutes I can select the reminder timing. The reminder timing is actually saved to provide the user of the reminder when 3 times. It will be calculated on the basis of how much is the difference between departure and date and the current date. So if I am selecting it since it's a tomorrow's date, I will only get one notification. But if let's say it's in after 3 weeks, so I will get a notification one day before, 1 week before. But if it's more than 1 month, so I will get 1 month before, 1 week before, and 1 day before the notifications. Reminder timing is the time that I will get provide the notification to the user. Clicking the generate, the trip is saved. Here, if I will click on cross, it means here if I'm clicking here in the cross, it means that I haven't taken this medicine two days. So I will save cancel or no status inside the degree. Or if I'll click on the yes, correct, I will save an yes status for the medicine taken. On the basis of these data, I'm providing my analysis screen in the two screens. So let's say I will click yes. Now, if I since I have clicked yes, the correct wrong option is selected, and I cannot change it for today. This notification button is actually providing me allowing me to set a reminder tone. So the reminder can be set by clicking any. I can select any of the next of the music. Like let's say I will select something else. So it will save the place. And yes, the reminder tone is now set. The next time getting a reminder, I will use the get good morning alarm notification. It was by default something inside saved inside the application if the user is not selecting something else. The last feature is providing the medicine store. This is feature was initially in the game screen, but we shifted it to the medicine store because it's better for the user experience. Three options here. One is adding the medicine to the store, adding a reminder when to get reminded if I want to be reminded if like 2 or 3 days before. As you can see, I'm getting 1 day's due. So what I will do is add some medicines to the store. Let's say five, and I will add. So since it was initially 1 day due, but I have added five, that means I have 4 days doxycycline. This medicine is actually saved in the launch startup screen when I'm selecting the user's preferences. So that is the launcher screen. On clicking on the reminder, it asks me how many days before you want your medicine ends. Do you want to get the reminder? Let's say I will say 10 and set it. Now I have only medicines for the 10 days, and I'm asking my application to provide a reminder before 10 days and only for the 4 days left. What I will do is click here and I'm getting a screen. You may be running out of the medicines. I had to go back to the trip screen because this is a bug inside the application and it can be removed very easily in the upcoming days. So this says you may be running out of the medicines soon. What I will go back is change the reminder dates instead of 10 to only 2. Set it, go back. Now I'm not getting any warning message because I'm asking my application to remind me 2 days before, and I have 4 days medicine still left. So I'm not getting any warning message. Um, these are all the features of the Power Up. Sorry, Malaria-Android. Coming to the UI comparison, we have changed a lot in the UI. This is the user profile here. I'm not getting a user profile directly on clicking on the user button here. Instead, when I'm clicking on the profile, there's an option to edit profile. So this actually allows the users to provide the edit option only when they want it instead of always providing this screen. And in the user profile screen also followed material and guidelines. So this was my achievement room. This is the new user profile screen that we already changed during the demo. So these are some major UI changes inside the application, which are from tab target viewer. We have already seen the trip screen is changed a lot here. I'm getting a linear layout here. Right now I'm using recycler view. So these screens have changed a lot. The main screen still remains almost the same because there was no such need for it. The select item has changed a lot from the comparison to the old one. Coming to the performance comparison, these are the two performance GIFs of the Malaria-Android. This is the new GIF, current APK, and this is the old one. If you will see, both applications start. This one starts around 24 MB usage, and starts increasing to 28 MB. It starts with 27 MB, and then it starts increasing a little bit. So we have not we have made the consistency of the performance from the old application, but in many of the next screens, the memory usage will increase suddenly for the old APK, but it will remain around 43 MB, except one of the screen that is bad screen that we still need to work upon for the performance. And yeah, so this screen actually shows me 44 MB at the current second. This is the 49 second, 58 second, and this is the 45th second. So as you can see, I still have 49 MB usage now, and it increased to 68 MB very suddenly. So that is something we have improved. That this changes were inside the select item fragment screen that we improved a lot. This is the overdraw comparison inside the application. The overdraw is usually judged on the basis of four major colors, that is blue, green, uh, red, and something dark red. If it's a blue is the best option provided to the overdraw, and red is the worst option provided. You can see even my text here are getting red in the older screen. I'm getting a blue here, so that means something performance is better here. The reason behind this, I'm using a background color, but my current older application used a background image. Using a background image actually forces the GPU to provide a lot of rendering every 12 milliseconds. I think that actually increases the overdraw behind the text. So in the calendar view, I'm getting a lot of um, red color. That means, but I'm not getting a good screen here. Let's say another screen is here. This is my plan trip screen. So in the calendar view, still getting a red here because I'm getting starting an fragment on above a fragment that is being inside an activity. So that's the reason I'm getting red here. Otherwise, I'm not getting blue red here. And the first option provided inside the overdraw is if I'm getting the same color that I have inside the application. So since I have the same background color and nothing is being color is not being changed by the overdraw, when I'm checking the overdraw, that means the pan trip screen is really well implemented. But inside this screen, I'm getting a background blue color. That means I'm still having some overdraw these inside these screens. Now, clicking on the select item fragment, here I'm getting a linear layout. That was the reason I was getting a total red inside the screens. This is the linear layout, and linear layout is really bad for performance. So as you can see in the older UI, this I had my medicine store and the badge room inside the play that we shifted to medicine store and inside the profile. Same reason here, I'm getting a red color inside the achievement room. The red means bad performance, but color still remains same, almost. So in the most of the current screen, the maximum overdraw you can see is in the bottom navigation. That is, I'm getting a green and a red background on the icons. Apart from that, I'm still getting good overdraw performance, and that means we have improved the user screen, we have reduced the layout nesting, and constant layout really helps a lot in improving the application performance. The future developments for both of the applications are, first let's discuss about the Power Up Android. Power Up Android, we can still in many of the mini games the session history is available that is being used inside the application. For the mini games, that what we can do is shift it to the preferences. uh, I haven't worked on the UI of the application, and there's still like this little overdraw. I think my fellow GSoC also worked on some of the overdraws, but they still exist some, and we can still improve it. We can reduce some boilerplate code still that are inside most of the mini games. For example, the histories. So we can, when we are shifting it to preferences, application will be really better now. For the Malaria-Android, because we have shifted the database and the architecture and everything, there still exists some minor bugs that we can improve. I will create issues for each one of them that I am finding. Though I have checked the memory performance using the Canary leak and the Android profiler, both of them, there are two or three screens that we can still improve a lot, where the memory usage suddenly increases for, from 40 MB to 60 MB only for one or two screens that we can work upon. Uh, we can haven't tried the unit test for the application because there was a option going on between whether I should improve user interface and user experience or the unit test. So I have worked in the user experience and UI. The unit tests still need to be implemented inside the application. Uh, for the settings, what I'm having is reset button inside the application, but if you're providing the reset button directly, what we can do is create a setting screen inside the application where we can provide reset options for different things like reset the trip data, reset the medicine data, reset rest of the things. For the trip screen, what we have currently is user actually, uh, if the user is selecting the same location next time, then he can edit it. But instead of that feature, what we can do is create the list of all the trips he has planned. When I'm clicking in the bottom in the trip option, and when user selects one of the trips already planned, then he can be provided with an option to edit it further. So this is a really important feature that we can improve it in the future development. Coming to the challenges that I had to search for many of the Android best practices in many of the options, like when I was implementing MVP or when I was using the room database. So I had to use room query on the background thread and getting a callback from the background thread to the main thread to display it on the UI. I searched a lot, and we finally decided with the executors that many of the there were many instances that research took a lot of time. Git merge conflicts really sometimes uh, annoyed me a lot. Apart from that, I had to collaborate with other GSoC students. So for the power up, I had to collaborate with them, and for the Malaria-Android, sometimes only few times I had to collaborate with another GSoC student. So that was little difficult. Um, and in the usually my mentors were available and always replying on time, but to make sure that I'm not getting back and being on time and managing time properly, uh, uh, in the last phase I shifted to almost PST zone, although I was living in IST, so I was working in night. So yeah, although these are the challenges that I had, I learned a lot of the best thing that I've learned is time management. uh, Apart from the time management, I've learned a lot of the Android best practices, use some really nice libraries, the room button, like constant layout, tap target viewer, the timeliner view. Um, I have used receivers, alarm managers, services. I learned how to document my stuff, either it is meeting my notes or my challenges or the scrum check-ins or how design documentation I'm working on, what design decisions we are taking. So these were something I have never done before the GSoC. So yeah, that are the best takeaways. uh, on the personal, the same thing. I've improved my soft skills before GCI and GSOC. I was really bad with telephonic conversations and the time management a lot. I've learned a lot for the time management during the GSOC period. Uh, yeah, so used insomnia as a friend during phase three because I couldn't get sleep in the night. So what I used is started working in the night, and when I was getting in the day I was sleeping. So used my bad feature as a really good friend. I improved blogging skills a lot, even though I'm not a native English speaker. Uh, I tried to blogs because that was a compulsory, and out of the 13 blogs, 7 of the blogs were published in really big publications that included noteworthy Mindocs, Sisters open source itself. So that was something really achievement for me, and that really always provided me an happy feeling during the GSOC period. I've interacted with many of the GSOC students and the mentors during the GSOC happy hours and the team building sessions that we had. So yeah, the special thanks to my project admin main that she has been always there either during the phase one where I was really lagging back due to my exams, my mentors who always provided me the best reviews, even though I had to rework it many times. But in the end, when I was checking the performance of the application, I really felt elated that yes, because of the reviews, I'm not getting any null pointer exceptions, I'm not getting any memory leaks inside the application. So thank you my mentors. And Isabel for Rimshim and Sami were always providing their feedback inside the Slack channels, sister Slack channels. So that really helped me during the feedback, especially when I was working on the UI. So, getting feedback and the improving UI and understanding the someone else's opinion really helps a lot. So thank you. I'm open for the questions. If you want to ask some questions after the slide, you can always find me by Geek Anamika anywhere, either it's a Medium, Twitter, LinkedIn, Sisters Open Source, GitHub. Thank you.